Hello and welcome everyone, it's Capcan. We're continuing our preview of the talent trees from the Dragonflight, and today we're gonna look at the retribution part of the tree. So we've already saw our main Paladin, general Paladin tree, which is quite interesting. And now we're gonna look at the retribution with Blade of Justice as first talent, which pierces an enemy with a Blade of Light, dealing physical damage, generates 1 holy power, 12 seconds cooldown. We already have this thing. Second goes our Divine Storm, 3 holy power spender, unleashes a whirl of divine energy, dealing 147% of attack power, holy damage to all nearby targets, deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. So yeah, you're probably gonna take both of them anyway. Your auto attacks have a 12% chance to reset the cooldown of Blade of Justice. That's a talent that we have right now, or something similar we have that gives us resetting of cooldown for our Blade of Justice, or it gives us additional procs, something in that space. Timely Judgment reduces the cooldown of your judgment ability by 1 second if you want to generate more holy power. Crusader Strike now has two charges. Now this talent is gonna be pretty cool, I guess, now that we have Of Dusk and Dawn. No, not now that we have wait 1 second. Yeah, Aspirations of Divinity. Your Crusader Strike now also grants you 158% increased primary stat for 6 seconds. Multiple applications may overlap, which means that if you're gonna take 2 charges of Crusader Strike, you're gonna use them both, and bam, you have 300 plus your main stat increased if you're lucky enough, and if it procced 1 by 1. Yeah, which is very, very strong. It's not just like additional holy power generation, and it's far more for the, yeah, maybe not in all the situations you're gonna want to use it, but again, it can be pretty good, pretty interesting. For opening windows, for PvP, definitely, it's gonna be pretty good. Increases your mastery by 2%, just like that, just from out of nowhere. Increases the critical strike chance of your Blade of Justice by 5%. So more buffs for your Blade of Justice. Zeal. Judgment empowers you with Holy Zeal, causing your next 3 auto attacks to occur 30% faster and deal an additional holy damage. That's the talent that we currently have in our Retribution talent tree. Shield of Vengeance. Talent creates a barrier of holy light that absorbs damage for 15 seconds. When the shield expires, it bursts to inflict holy damage equal to the total amount absorbed, divided among all nearby enemies. Very good PvP stuff, and of course, again, that's our baseline ability right now. It's a good defensive cooldown in everywhere, and it's yeah, it's just good everywhere. Divine Protection reduces all damage you take by 20% for 8 seconds. 1 minute cooldown. Oh. Man, that's a hard choice. I guess now Shield of Vengeance, you wanna take it in order to deal more damage if you definitely know that it's gonna be broken. And Divine Protection with reducing all incoming damage by 20%. It's just straightforward, way better in terms of scaling defensive cooldown. And again, your health can be healed by your healers, but the amount of damage that you're taking can be reduced way less than that. And it's 8 seconds, only 1 minute cooldown, which is pretty short cooldown. Yeah, very cool, very interesting stuff, very good as well. So let's go with it. And here we have Blade of Wrath. Art of War resets the cooldown of Blade of Wrath of Justice 100% more often and increases its damage by 25%. So yeah, I guess Art of War is maybe just our standard passive right now, and Blade of Wrath is the talent that upgrades the passive itself. So let's look at our parts of the trees. Now the part that goes from Zeal increases High Lord's Judgment, increases damage dealt by Judgment by 8%. So again, more of the Judgment stuff. We have our Judgment buff here, and somewhere around Blade of Justice. No. Oh, wait a second. How did I manage to not see this part? Blade of Justice generates 1 additional holy power. Yeah, so here we can go in and specialize in our Blade of Justice. Here we can go and try to specialize in our judgments. Righteous Verdict, Templar's Verdict increase the damage of your next Templar's Verdict by 5%. That's our single target talent currently. As well, enemies hit by your Divine Storm take 100% more damage from your consecration for 8 seconds. Okay, that's for you to get an additional DPS cooldown in consecration, and there was plenty of talents for consecration in the general tree, which means that they really want you to have your consecration back as a good skill, not bad skill. Your judgment has a 25% chain to a nearby enemy. Okay, probably it wouldn't chain out of that enemy again. Pretty interesting stuff. So some cleave procs. Okay, choose one. Sanctification. Consecration periodic damage has a chance to grant you 1 holy power. Chances increase up to 4 targets within consecration. Chances increase up to 4. So if you're using your consecration not on one single target, then you're more it's more probable for you to get your additional holy power generated. And inner power, every 12 seconds in combat you gain 1 holy power. Probably if you're not gonna play through the consecration, you're gonna take inner power anyway. But I guess that with all the talents that we have on consecration currently, I think that probably consecration is gonna be used in Mythic Plus almost 100% because of additional AoE damage, additional all these procs that you have, and it's probably gonna be way more than once 12 seconds you gain 1 holy power. Yeah, so I guess consecration just is gonna be back on the menu as your one of the main AoE abilities for Retribution, if the numbers are right. Exorcism, 20 seconds cooldown. Wait a second, they're giving you exorcism back. Blast the target with holy light, causing 100% of attack power holy damage, and burns the target for an additional 23% of attack power holy damage for 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds for 12 seconds. Applies the damage over time effect to nearby enemies if the target is standing within your consecration, and stuns demon and undead targets for 5 seconds. Whoa, they're giving us exorcism back. Okay, but it's instant. So you're not gonna really feel channeling of exorcism anymore, but it's very, very cool. And it's an additional AoE damage. So your rotation as Paladin is not gonna be as simple as stacking your powers, then Divine Storming to the death. Now you're gonna use Consecration, then you're gonna use Exorcism on top of that, and you're gonna use your Consecration after your Divine Storm went off, which creates more interesting ways to play the game. It gets away that simplicity that Retribution Paladins had in terms of AoE rotation. Consecrated Ground. Your consecration is 15% larger, and enemies within it have 50% reduced movement speed. Okay, so it's gonna let your tanks kite enemies if needed way better. Sanctified ground, your consecration is 15% larger and you cannot be slowed below 80% of normal movement speed within consecration. This effect lasts for 2 seconds after leaving consecration, so it has some lingering effect. I guess second part is more for a PvP. If you're gonna be, yes, if in order for you not to be slowed too hard. Pretty interesting talent as well. Bigger AoE, I don't really know how much is it gonna be, how much of a use they're gonna be for it, but it's very interesting anyways. Hand of Hindrance. Burdens an enemy target with the weight of your misdeeds, reducing movement speed by 70% for 10 seconds. So your basic PvP mostly, at least in my knowledge, PvP mostly talent that you're gonna use in order to slow down your target. 30 seconds cooldown as well. Relentless Inquisitor. Spending Holy Power grants you 1% haste per finisher for 12 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So more haste buffs. I guess there's gonna be 2% haste. Okay, so this part of the tree definitely focuses on AoEs. Yeah, AoEs mostly, and judgment. AoEs and judgment, yes. Now let's go for the center of our talent tree, which is way there are way less talents there. So Wake of Ashes, lash out at your enemies, dealing a big amount of damage, radiant damage to all enemies within 12 yards in front of you, and reducing their movement speed. Damage reduced on secondary targets, so it's our baseline skill now as well. It's very good for AoE burst, starting stuff. It generates you holy power. It has 45 seconds cooldown. Demon and undead are also stunned as well. So yeah, our AoE opener here. Ashes to Dust. Art of War has a 35% chance to reset the cooldown of... Holy shit. So your auto attacks have a 35% chance to reset the cooldown of Wake of Ashes instead of Blade of Justice. So you can just spec, you can not only spec into some stuff, you can even spec out of some stuff. Okay, Path to Ruin. Replaces Wake... Wait, there is 3 abilities? No. Okay. Oh, that's the second one. So replaces Wake of Ashes with Path of Ruin. Okay. Lash out at your enemies, dealing 250% attack power radiant damage to all enemies within 12 yards in front of you, and reducing their movement speed. Oh, 15 seconds cooldown. But it costs 3 holy power. Wait a second. How can I? Wait a second. It costs, so Path of Ruin, so instead of generating 3 holy power every 45 seconds, and dealing damage 364, you're gonna deal 250 now. You're gonna use 3 holy powers on it. It's gonna have 15 seconds cooldown. And with our Divine Storm, we have 147 attack power. Just to be honest, looks like not the thing that you're gonna take. Probably, in my opinion. Yeah, okay. Avenging Wrath might. Call upon the light and become the avatar of retribution, increasing... Avenging Wrath might? Call upon the light and become the avatar of retribution, increasing your critical strike chance by 20% for 20 seconds. If Avenging Wrath is known, also grants 20% damage increase. So you can get this Avenging Wrath and not get this Avenging Wrath, which is quite interesting. So yeah, you'll probably take this. No, just increasing your critical strike chance by 20% is massive. Call upon the light or crusade. Or crusade. Call upon the light and begin a crusade, increasing your haste by 3% for 25 seconds. Each holy power spent during crusade increases haste by an additional 3%, maximum 10 stacks. If avenging wrath is known, also grants 3% damage per stack. Yeah, so crusade is more of a haste stuff instead of critical strike. It ramps up. I guess it goes off when Avenging Wrath goes off as well. So it not replaces your Avenging Wrath, it combines it. So that's not two separate cooldowns. Definitely, it's more of a stackable thing. So that's the choice that we almost currently have right now in the game. You're either gaining stacking haste or you're gaining critical strike chance. Okay, let's go with something here. Truth's Wake. Wake of Ashes burns the target for an additional 10% of damage for 6 seconds. More damage for Wake of Ashes. And what do I think here? I think that if you're gonna take Ashes to Dust, then probably you have your Art of War. And Art of War resets the cooldown of Blade of Justice 100% more often. Probably this talent wouldn't really work on the Ashes to Dust. It's not gonna be 75% chance to reset the cooldown of Wake of Ashes. Man, I maybe numbers on these don't really represent the current the situation that is gonna be inside the game, because if it has 12% chance to reset the cooldown of Blade of Justice, which is very, very, very smaller in terms of damage and just how strong this spell is in comparison to Wake of Ashes, but it has now 35% chance to reset the cooldown of Wake of Ashes, it seems broken as fuck. And I probably don't think that they're gonna release broken as fuck talents in the game, which probably either this chance is not represented, is not just flat chance to reset, maybe it's 35% chance of the 12% chance, which will seem way more realistic here. And it's like 4% chance to reset the cooldown of Wake of Ashes. And then maybe Blade of Wrath can be applied over that stuff and increase it to 8% chance to reset the cooldown of Wake of Ashes. Yeah, that's some kind of a more complicated more complicated talents, more complicated relations between them, and I guess we're just gonna see in future how it's gonna turn out. It looks bonkers. Selfless Hero, choose one. Your holy power spending abilities reduce the cast time of your next Flash of Light by 25% increase. It's healing down by 10%, stacks up to 4 times, and then your Flash of Light becomes instant and it heals way more. Or Healing Hands. The cooldown of Laying Hands is reduced up to 60% based on the target's missing health. Word of Glory's healing is increased by up to 100% based on the target's missing health. So we have some Word of Glory talents here where you can make it free to use sometimes, but I strongly doubt that we're gonna use Healing Hands, and Selfless Healer is probably gonna be way better anyway. So this part of the tree, it's more of a Consecrated Blade. Blade of Justice casts. Yeah, that's the talent that I've missed. And it's not this part of the tree, but anyway, let's see. Blade of Justice casts the Art of War, shatters the earth while emerging, casting Consecration on the target's location. The limit of Consecration does not apply to this effect, so you can have multiple Consecrations. Interesting. So more AoE damage as well. So this part is a part of 3 for Wake of Ashes. So this part of 3 seems more like a 100% taken, but not fully. So you may go in your Blade of Wraths. You may not want to get procs to Wake of Ashes, but with current percentage, I don't really think that you want to have your Art of War on Blade of Justice and not on Wake of Ashes. But still, if this shit's gonna be nerfed, you're gonna take these 2 talents anyway because they're quintessential for you, and then go either in right or left side depending on your play style. So we have talent that gives us more consecrations from Blades of Justice, so more AoE damage, but we then again don't have our buffs to consecrations out of this part of the tree, I assume. Now we're gonna look at it. Seal of Wrath. Judgment has a 25% chance to cast again and deal 28% of attack power extra holy damage to the target. Okay, so double Judgment. Your Blade of Justice critical hits cause the target to burn for 20% of the damage dealt every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. So it's gonna be additional 60% damage. Okay, pretty good. Talent, choose one. Imperial Power. Crusader Strike has a 15% chance to make your next Divine Storm free and deal 25% additional damage. This talent we currently have already. Fires of Justice reduces the cooldown of Crusader Strike by 15%, and grants it a 15% chance to make your next ability consume 1 less holy power. Fires of Justice makes your rotation, your feeling of class way less consistent, so sometimes you can use your ability and you're counting your holy power, and now you can do it way faster. Then you generate additional, then you have one holy power left, and there are some talents in the general tree of Dusk and Dawn. When you reach 5 holy power you gain blessing, very good buff, and when you reach 0 holy power you gain a buff. And Fires of Justice can really fuck up your view, your feel of gaining those buffs, because you will more often you will be left on 1 holy power, more often you wouldn't reach to up to 5 holy powers probably. So yeah, probably you're just gonna take Imperial Power or not take anything here. Sealed Verdict. Your holy power spending abilities increase the damage of your next Blade of Justice by 16%, so more emphasis on you taking and using your Blade of Justice. To be honest, I really like how Retribution 3 works. It doesn't really add up too much to your rotations, so only consecration is something that is gonna be either there or not there, but it just reforges ways of you using your base abilities. It just reforges cooldowns, reforges procs, and all that stuff. It's very interesting how it works. Justiciar's Vengeance. And wait a second, I need to make a little pause. Let's continue our video. And Justiciar's Vengeance costs 3 holy power, melee range, instant cast, focuses holy power to deliver a powerful weapon strike that deals 140% of attack holy damage and restores health equal to the damage done. Damage is increased by 50% when used against a stunned target. That's maybe somewhat of a PvP talent. Yeah, you just don't really want to trade off your holy power. You don't want to trade off damage from your holy power strikes in order to heal yourself in PvE, because you're probably gonna be healed either way. Maybe in some situations it's pretty cool. It's even probably not so bad against some difficult solo encounters, but you definitely have already enough of self-sustain. Damage is increased by 50% when used against a stunned target. Just implicates that it's probably gonna be better in PvP. Yeah, and I think that we have some other similar stuff currently already. Eye for an eye. Surround yourself with a bladed bulwark, reducing physical damage taken by 35%, and dealing dealing 35% of attack power physical damage to any melee attackers for 10 seconds. Yeah, that's the thing that we currently have as well. And by the way, we need to look up the talent under the Imperial Power. Tempest of the Lightbringer. Divine Storm projects an additional wave of flight, striking all enemies up to 20 yards in front of you for 20% of Divine Storm's damage. So more buffs for Divine Storms, which creates more emphasis on you taking the Imperial Power itself, especially for your needs of AoE damage in M+. Man, classes are gonna be so good. Maybe they don't, because you have to pay your talent points and you're not gonna take as much stuff as you could have taken currently, because you have a lot of stuff as baseline right now. But the choice, the ways that you can tailor everything, I like it so much. Okay, let's go for... So this is more of a Blade of Wrath talent tree. Some talents, they just give you actives. Some healing as well, a little bit of it. But definitely not as heavy heavy AoE focused as this part of the talent tree. Okay, Relentless Inquisitor, spending holy power. Oh, I've already saw that, so that was the haste stuff. When you benefit from Art of War, you gain Seraphim for 2 seconds. Holy shit. The light magnifies your power for 15 seconds, grant 2% haste, critical strike, and versatility, and mastery. I don't really think that it stacks one upon another, but wait a second, for 2 seconds, you gain Seraphim for 2 seconds instead of for 15 seconds. So yeah, that's just a little bit of buffs for you throughout the using of your Blades of Justice. Is that gonna be more seconds? For 4 seconds. Oh, that's way better. Yeah, so these two points, if you're gonna use the point in here and you're gonna use Art of War and you're gonna use this talent for it to proc more often, yeah, you'll probably want this talent as well. Okay, let's take more talents out of here and let's see. So here where we have our haste stacks. Execution sentence. A hammer slowly falls from the sky upon the target. After 8 seconds they suffer a bunch of holy damage, plus 20% of damage taken from your abilities in that time. 3 holy power cost, 1 minute cooldown. That's our burst cooldown that we currently have, especially in PvP, sometimes in single target damage as well. If you're gonna be able to deal big amounts of damage in that short period of time, getting an additional 20% of damage that you've dealt is gonna be pretty strong as well. Choose one. Executioner's Will, Templar Verdicts. Templar's Verdict extends the duration of your active execution sentence on the target by 1 second. So again, more emphasis on single target damage with the strong bursty cooldown as well, and good for PvP as well. Cannot extend the duration of an active execution sentence more than 8 seconds. So yeah, you're gonna squeeze a lot more burst with this Executioner's Will or Executioner's Wrath. Execution sentence, which is distant, yes. Now instead deals 15% of the damage taken from your abilities during its active time to the target and nearby enemies within 8 yards. So that's I'm not sure about the numbers. I'm not sure about how it's gonna be on practice, but it's way for you to deal a bunch of damage on one single target and then to spread part of it on the targets around you. I don't really see, and how is the cooldown? 1 minute cooldown. It's probably still gonna be less than if you just hard hit with all your AoE abilities, spam them during your DPS cooldowns and spend these last 2 talents on something else here, especially, yeah, I already said, so it's probably not gonna be a good idea to go with Executioner Sentence and try to spread it on AoE. But maybe some situations where you need both single target damage and cleave around it, then it's gonna be good, I guess. Divine Toll, so that's our Kyrian ability. Instantly casts Y Avenger's Shield on up to... There is gonna be Judgment here. So instantly cast Judgment on up to 5 targets within 30 yards, 1 minute cooldown. Divine Toll is very, very good ability currently. It was OP throughout the Shadowlands for some parts of it, definitely. It's very interesting, and it's I'm glad that we have the ability with us persist through the Shadowlands onwards. Yeah, and I'm just very glad that we have it. What do we have here? After casting Divine Toll, you instantly cast Judgment every 5 seconds. This effect lasts 15 seconds. So three additional Judgments. I'm not really sure why do we have Holy Shock and Avengers here. So probably Divine Toll is gonna be throughout the every Paladin subclass trees. And therefore we have this here. Yeah, just upgrading Divine Toll, just having more damage, just having more Holy Power generated, just having more burst is pretty good. Not really, maybe not so much AoE focused, but still, Divine Toll, our ability that I think that many people quite like from the Shadowlands, and they're gonna take it even just from that point, because it's the ability that they've became fond of. Empyrean Empowerment. Judgment empowers your next Templar's Verdict to automatically trigger Divine Storm with 25% increased effectiveness. This effect can only occur every 30 seconds. Oh, so cooldown on it. It's we definitely have. Oh, wait a second. That's the thing that we have from the Necrolord skill on Paladins. We have our Hammer of something. We're throwing it, and then our Templar's Verdict triggers our Divine Storm automatically, or our Word of Glory triggers our AoE healing ability in Holy Spec. So yeah, that's our other ability from the Covenant specs, which is pretty cool as well, and it's interesting that you can even combine them. Yeah, it gives you additional damage, which is not bad. I don't really know how it compares to other stuff here, but still pretty cool that we have it persisted with us. So let's take some more talents out of here. Templar's Vindication. It goes on pair with Ashes to Ashes, which gives us Seraphim, and Relentless Inquisitor, which gives us haste. So Templar's Vindication. Templar's Verdict has a 15% chance to strike again for 30% of its damage, and then 30% chance to strike again for 30% of its damage. So it's like completely single target oriented ability. Yeah, completely single target oriented ability. Final Verdict replaces Templar Verdict with a Final Verdict, a devastating strike that deals 210% of attack damage. Holy damage has a 15% chance to activate Hammer of Wrath to reset its cooldown. Oh, and you can reactivate your Hammer of Wrath cooldown. That's more for a burst Windows situation, when you want more Hammers of Wrath during your Avengers Wrath. Man, how much Wrath does Retribution Paladins has in themselves? Okay, interesting. And Hammer of Wrath has 1 extra charge and increases holy damage done by 2% for 10 seconds, second 3 times. So that's definitely just straight up single target increases. Not so much of a bursty bursty like oriented stuff like with execution sentence, just single targets damage all across the board. Virtuous command. Judgment grants you virtuous command for 5 seconds, which causes your Templar Verdicts, Templar Verdict, Crusader Strike, Blade of Justice, and auto attacks to deal 5 additional holy damage. Okay. And it's gonna be like 10% additional holy damage. And then we have our final reckoning cooldown, so 1 minute cooldown, a blast of heavenly energy, dealing 250% of attack power holy damage to all targets in the target area and causing them to take 50% increased damage from your holy power abilities for 8 seconds. Passive while off cooldown. Your attacks have a high chance to call down a bolt that deals 50% of attack damage, holy damage, and causes the target to take 10% increased damage from your next holy power ability. So that's a wee hard-hitting ability that gives you a very big increase in damage upon the all enemies that are here. So that's it. It has 1 minute cooldown, which is probably not every single pack, but every single or 2 packs of mobs in M+. That's definitely your M+ talent to go. Maybe with Divine Toll, maybe somehow, maybe with like Empyrean Endowment, but again, why would you use your Templar Verdicts? Every 30 seconds you would have to wait for it to, you would have to count or see upon your weak auras when the cooldown goes off, if there's even an indication of cooldown for that stuff. Yeah, so pretty interesting stuff all over the tree. You definitely can tailor your rotation. You definitely can have meaningful choices in this talent tree. There's a lot more of stuff that we already have in Retribution talent tree and in generic Paladin tree. So yeah, probably not as much new toys. But definitely more things goes with Consecration now. More ways to enhance your gameplay however you want to do it. Very interesting stuff. I just want to play every single class that I'm reading abilities and talents off from these talent trees in the Dragonflight. I hope I'm gonna be able at least to play some of them. Thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, have a good day and goodbye.